Hey, Rich Kimber here, the Civil War Traveler, and I'm very fortunate enough to have Tim Ruis with us today. Tim Ruis portrays Jim Lane, a very famous abolitionist from Kansas history. Tim, how are you doing today?
Just fine, thanks, Rick.
Tim, can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Lane?
Mr. Lane, yeah, Jim Lane, James H. Lane. He was out here during the territorial struggle of leaving Kansas, 1850s, and he came from Indiana. And he came out here to form the Democratic Party. Was not successful with that under orders from Senator Stephen Douglas. So he joined up with the Republicans and the Free Staters and eventually got himself elected first United States Senator from Kansas. So he was very instrumental politically and militarily out here in Kansas territory, Jim Lane.
Okay, so during the Civil War, he was in the Senate. What kind of, do you know of any type of legislation or anything like that he sponsored?
Yeah, you know, he was really pioneered a couple of things. Jim Lane was a Westerner from Indiana, and he early came out to support a fellow Westerner for president by the name of Abraham Lincoln from Illinois. And Lane, they became fast friends. Lane campaigned for him in Illinois and Indiana. Lincoln got elected and went to Washington in '61 to become president. And Lane followed him to become U.S. Senator. And a little story about Jim Lane, he visited the new president at the White House right after he took office at the start of the war and discovered that there was no security in the White House. So Lane gathered up 106 old bleeding Kansas territorial fighters and had followed him to Washington, issued them arms, and they bivouacked in the White House East Room for about 8 days, provided palace guard security for Jim Lane. And of course, after that, Lincoln was forever grateful for that service. And Lane became the political kingpin of Kansas, the new state of Kansas, and the Republican Party. Also, Jim Lane started the war, really had no love for Missouri and really secessionists along the border. So at the start of the war, Jim Lane led his troops into Jim Lane's Jayhawkers into western Missouri, and they burned and pillaged and stole up and down the border. And a number of slaves followed him back into Kansas. And unbeknownst to anyone, Jim Lane trained these black former slaves into the 1st Kansas Colored Volunteer Infantry. And they were the first black unit to ever fight Confederates at Island Mound near Butler, Missouri, Bates County. This would have been in October of '62. So that was Jim Lane's first Kansas Color.
And the 54th Massachusetts didn't really start seeing action until 1863.
Right.
So here, Kansas was leading the nation in the integration of African Americans into the armed forces.
Yeah, Lane, you know, and I think Jim Lane also, I mean, he was a pioneer in a lot of things, not only black troops, but also the concept of total war, which would be taken to its extreme by Sherman's march through Georgia. Jim Lane said, you know, the civilians are supporting these secessionists, these guerrillas in Missouri, so they're going to pay a price. So he burned and pillaged up and down the border. And of course, in reprisal, Quantrell would come to Lawrence in '63, specifically looking for Jim Lane, who led the Jayhawkers into western Missouri.
Right, and he escaped by hiding in a well, right?
Actually, he jumped out the back of his home and hid the cornfield.
Okay.
Survived the Quantrell's massacre in '63, August of '63.
So how did Jim end up?
Jim Lane, of course, Lincoln was assassinated, and Lane was very despondent over that. But he was also the consummate politician, so he realized if he wanted to keep his political future alive, he would have to support the new president, Andrew Johnson. And Lane helped back the veto of Andrew Johnson's veto of the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act, and that was a fatal mistake politically, particularly in Kansas. And the Republican Party, radical Republicans, turned against Jim Lane, and investigations began of Lane, and eventually he ended up committing suicide in 1866.
Wow. So Jim Lane, American, Kansan, and one of the men behind the Civil War.
Civil War, yes. And particularly in Lecompton, the connection with this building, Lane University, and all this pre-Civil War and Civil War activity going on. He was right in the middle of it, in a close tie to Lecompton, Lawrence, and this whole bleeding Kansas Civil War period.
Well, good deal. Thank you, Tim.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.